Just got done talking to Jags. They're on the Colts this week, one of the Final Fours, and we have another member of the Final Four, LAJoneser. We had him on a little bit earlier, but in person here on the desk was Greg. Thanks for joining us, man.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Not as good as you.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but doing great.
How it goes.
I mean, listen, this is, I can't imagine the ride. We talked with a little bit about your story and the whole stuff that happened over the Thanksgiving game and whatnot. But since then, what's gone on? You had mentioned to us that you had sold a little bit of the entry. Where are we at with that situation, and how did things play out for the last few weeks?
I'm on Denver. I just thought there was value because I didn't think Russell Wilson was worth 2.5 or 3 line points.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go last, so I knew where my entry stood.
Yep.
Give me a little bit better hedge opportunity if the people in front of me win or lose. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's been great. I still control the entry. It was more like a swap of percentages with people who were in it earlier. I think someone from VSiN might have a little bit of it. Yeah. So yeah, it's everybody's been great. They've been super supportive. Do what you're gonna do. They're all happy to be collecting a little bit of money.
Now, how many times do you come out to Las Vegas for these games now? Obviously, living in Los Angeles, a little easier than Jacksonville to be able to come out here and enjoy the games at Circa?
It's like a 3-hour drive. I've been here, excluding Christmas, every week except for, after Thanksgiving. So how many that is.
Was there any debate at all this week as to which team you were going to take? Of course, we have 4 entries left, guys, and if you didn't see earlier in the show, 4 different teams that were taken. So we have 1 entry on the Browns, which is obviously already home, Texans, Colts, and then your entry on the Broncos. Was there any kind of thought of maybe going with a different team this week?
I almost went Minnesota. I was going to go to Minnesota all week, and then I switched quarterbacks, and I still was thinking about going to Minnesota, and then everybody who advises me has been telling me I'm insane to not do Minnesota, just from the numbers standpoint. So I think that's one of the things, like gambling's so like ego based, I have an opinion, I'm going to bet.
Yes.
But I've listened to people who are smarter than me and know numbers. And that's really helped me get from the last maybe 5-6 weeks.
Well, Greg, you're one of the 1% that actually does listen to people.
Kidding.
Because, seriously. It
0.001% at this point. You mentioned you've done this before, right? This is your 4th year, I believe, or 3rd year?
Whenever it started, I've done it every year, and I've never made it out of week 1.
Did you change anything this year?
I did.
What is the secret sauce?
I took the layups as much as possible, and I didn't try to get the other. I tried to outsmart myself the first 3 weeks and take teams no one was going to take and save teams. But the way the NFL season plays out, it's all a crapshoot the last 3 or 4 weeks, injuries and all that stuff. So I think I just took the layups every week the best I could, and then got lucky. It's been weird. I've had such a crazy sweat, but it's been other people's entries. Mine the last 4 or 5 weeks have won by margin. Like they covered and everything, which is kind of bad if you're hedging, but
better than losing though, right?
Definitely.
So we just talked to Jags. We asked them how sweet the Patriots victory was last week. How sweet was it for you?
It wasn't sweet at all.
No?
My family celebrated Christmas. This is my first Christmas without my mom, so I really wanted to try to be present and not have the TV on. And I was running back and forth, and when they went up 16, all my dumb friends were just blowing me up, all my texts, and I had to turn my phone off. And then when they caught up, I felt sick, and then when they won, I felt sick again. So it was like, not a thing.
The stress that goes through this, absolutely amazing. And like you said, it's not just your pick. It's especially when you get down to 10 people, it's who else is left, who you're rooting for in these spots. You mentioned the hedging. I know that you've talked to Steve Fezzik quite a bit and kind of gone through some hedging strategies there. Have you been hedging for a couple weeks, or is this something that's more recent?
Yeah, for a couple weeks, that Baltimore game when they didn't call 3 holding penalties and 6 people ended up surviving, that would have, that was a big one. And then the Cincinnati game on Saturday when they had no business beating Minnesota, that was pretty awful too. And then Christmas Eve too. So,
I agree with the Cincinnati-Minnesota game. As someone who had Minnesota in that one, I'm with you there.
So looking out, and again, we're rooting for you here. So let's just assume the Broncos take care of business as it looks. We're looking at, as far as like good teams, you have a good team left where a lot of people don't have a good team that is left. And you do have the Detroit Lions that, as we record this right now, are in action. But if you were to get to next week, is that kind of who you're eyeing in on here?
It depends. Yeah. Maybe Baltimore rest everybody. And if Cincinnati's still alive, that could be one. I think Detroit needs to win tonight. Next week they'll be playing for the 2 seed. Yeah. So that'll be that'd be great. Yeah, I hope Detroit wins tonight, but I'm not locked into them if they don't.
Now, you've done something interesting, unique, that compared to the other contestants here. On Twitter each week, the last 2 weeks at least, you've announced your pick before the deadline, so it's kind of out there. Has there been any game theory or strategy around that, or do you just want to shoot it out into the world and not have to worry about it?
There was last week with the Bears, because I definitely knew I didn't want anyone else on the Bears if I was going to take my shot. So I thought that would maybe dissuade some people from taking the Bears. This week, I just wanted to lock myself in because I really was going back and forth about Minnesota and Detroit. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to sleep on this.
I'm ready for this to be over. Yeah.
So everyone's going to angry tweet me if I don't do it. So I'll do. We know that there's been a chop that has been discussed. We know that it has been agreed on. We've seen like the stuff come out here. Is there any additional information to provide as far as the chop, or just that there was a chop?
There was a chop. It's more like a save than a chop. It's still millions of dollars on the line. So yeah, it's definitely an important. Everybody wants to play out. I know that. So yeah, it's not. Like last year, they kind of made a deal and everything was, but we're playing the rest of the time. Yeah.
That's got to be fun. I mean, you get to watch a game with millions of dollars on the line. Quite literally here.
I guess I'm going to watch it with them. I was here 1 week with a guy who had Cincinnati, Bowtie Cabaret had Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to watch it with him because I didn't want to openly, I knew he had him, and I didn't want to try to be a good dude.
Respect amongst thieves.
Shook his hand after the thing and said, "Hey, congrats," but I didn't want to be in his face with it. So stressful. Yeah.
So as far as the contest goes, obviously here you are, Final Four, 9,267 people started. So that's pretty great. Do you bet a ton of football as it is anyway? Do you bet a bunch of other sports? How does that? What's your sports background?
I kind of bet tennis.
Okay.
I bet football. I don't know if I'll ever bet football again after. I'm 1,000% serious.
Because it can only go down.
Yeah, you can. I'll do Survivor again. I was telling my wife, but I don't think I'll ever bet a football game after. Yeah.
So 10 entries next year?
Well, if she's not watching, yes. But if she's watching, no.
Okay. So you are married then?
Yeah.
When did you tell her that this was a thing?
I told her at the beginning, and every week she said, "Oh, this year you're so dumb. You're going to lose. It's such a waste of money." And then she kind of started paying attention after Thanksgiving, with that whole incident. So, yeah.
It's a weird kind of feeling, even for me, because I'm watching at home. I've been out since week 3, and yet I know what's on the line with all of these games, and my brain starts going to places I didn't even think. Like I'm watching that Patriots game last week, and I'm sitting there going, wow, this is really significant, even though it's not really significant to me at all. I didn't have $1 on the game, right? And so I can only imagine tomorrow with either one's already on, but there's 2 other games that are going to be happening where you're going to be sitting there, and it's like, even if you don't have $1 on those games, the significance of these games, you're screaming up and down about these games. It's just the emotional roller coaster tomorrow for you is going to be wild.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you mentioned the last couple of weeks you just kind of cruised through. Have there been any close calls to picking the wrong team? Because you mentioned this week, you've got Minnesota on one side, you've got the team you end up choosing on Denver on the other. Was there ever a week that you were out if you didn't make the right decision?
Well, you guys know I clicked the wrong button. Other than that, when Pittsburgh was playing New England at home, I was all set to go. I saved Pittsburgh. I was all set to go Pittsburgh, and then actually Steve told me, the morning of, I said, "Hey, I'm going Pittsburgh, so do whatever you want to do." And he said, "Well, why don't you wait? Because the line's been moving against Pittsburgh." And then I listened to a numbers game, and I listened to Drew Dinsick's podcast, and both him and Gil made really good cases for why the Patriots could win.
They were live,
the linebackers, and so that was enough. And I said, you know what, I'll just wait till Sunday, and then I switched teams.